Hello everyone, welcome back to this SOC Analyst Level 1 लाइव स्ट्रीम सीरीज। और आज का जो सेशन है वो बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट है क्योंकि आज हम बात करेंगे एक ऐसे टॉपिक में जो कि थ्रेट डिटेक्शन और SOC एनालिस्ट में उसका बैकबोन है, विच इज़ विंडोज इवेंट लॉग्स, राइट? सो previous sessions we talked about what is logs actually, how you can collect logs, or how you can manage those logs. But today we will talk about something like Windows event IDs, which is essential for SOC Analyst L1, because using event IDs you will get that idea like what type of event it is actually, what is happened in your system, in your network, in your logs, right? So if you want to become a SOC analyst, so it's really important to understand like uh, what are the events logged in Windows system actually. Okay, what type of activities, what suspicious activities, so what actually event viewers contains inside those events. So if you want to learn about, so then today's topic is very important. So I hope you are enjoying this series. The previous week I'm not able to take the streams, so for that I want to, so to in this week particularly we will cover all the lost time. I will try to cover as much as things I can. So without further delay, let's start today's session with Windows event IDs. Okay, so welcome again those who joined yet those who joined now. So make sure to watch all the videos, all the previous videos, so you will get the insights like what is actually happening in this series. And today is day 12, which is about Windows logs deep dive. You have the idea about what logs actually. So logs are the events, log are the things that is happening, or when something is happened in your system, in your network, the logs will create it. So I will take, or I will took a quick recap of the previous session, basically the day 11, because it's been a long week. So I hope you will not particularly forgot what we are talking about. So I will take a quick recap. So basically we were talking about the logs. So what are the logs actually? So the logs are the records of events generated by the operating system, applications, devices and security tools. लॉग्स वो रिकॉर्ड हैं जो कि आपके सिस्टम, आपके एप्लीकेशंस, डिवाइसेस और सिक्योरिटी टूल से जनरेटेड होते हैं. दे आर इम्पोर्टेंट फॉर मॉनिटरिंग एक्टिविटी, डिटेक्टिंग malicious behavior, forensic analysis and compliance and auditing. So if you are handling or if you are preparing for SOC, then it is important to learn about logs, because the SOC operations is completely depends on logs. If you have the idea about the logs activity or what type of logs you want to monitor, then only you can monitor it, right? So we already discussed about the importance of logs in cybersecurity, the types of logs like system logs, security logs, firewall logs, application logs, web server logs, authentication logs, right? And then today we are going to talk about the Windows logs, particularly Windows logs. If you are handling with the Windows operating system and you want to understand the logs generated by the Windows operating system only, then today's session is for you. Okay, then we will talk about the Linux logs, because in normal in the market, like the operating system you used for monitoring or the logs are handled here. So commonly you will see, if commonly you will see Windows operating system or a Linux operating system, right? So today's session is completely dedicated to Windows event logs, like what types of logs Windows will create it. We will talk about some common or important event IDs, the login events, and then RDP. What is logon type actually, and actually when you see a log, so what information you will pick it up, or what you will get some basic insights from that logs. Okay, so this session is about completely based on Windows logs. So make sure to comment something, tell me if you are enjoying those sessions, or you can do one more thing, like you can share these streams on your network as well. I'm talking about LinkedIn or Twitter. So the more people watch it, the more people will get or get the idea about SOC operations. Because in the market, when a particular beginner wants to step in cybersecurity, they will not have a idea about like where to learn, what to learn, where to practice. So this stream will be really helpful for those beginners as well as professionals who want to upgrade themselves in SOC, right? So first we will talk about what are the Windows event log. So सबसे पहले Windows events log क्या होते हैं? Can anyone tell me in the comments what is Windows event logs actually? Or if you monitored or if you performed the assignment we have in previous session, I think I give you a assignment in which you have to download the Windows logs in your system, and then you have to put it on any log management tool, right? So we used Logly, and then I put the logs in Logly Windows logs management system, and then you have to see it. So how many of you performed that assignment? Do comment. If you perform that assignment, you see or check out the logs generated in your Windows and put it on uh, Logly application. Drop some comment, guys. Make this session interactive. Okay, so basically, what are the Windows event log? This is the logs basically used to track the application or OS activities, not only operating system activities. Keep that word in mind, like logs are not actually logged if some activity happened in your operating system, right? Logs are already log or also logged when application activities also, right? If some application activities are generated, then logs also be created, not only for operating system activities. And in Windows, we have three types of main log types, which is security logs, system logs, and application logs. These logs are help you in monitoring, troubleshooting, or detecting some of the threats. Okay, so in Windows security log, if I'm why I'm particularly pushing you towards learning the logs. Okay, so Windows logs actually records the authentication or access related events. These are essential for intrusive detection, user activity tracing, and incident response. So keep those three key points in your mind and think about like why learning the Windows logs or Windows security logs are important, right? So suppose, think like someone logged in your system, someone guessed your system password, logged in your system, and logged in through RDP through for admin rights. My question is like so if this type of activity happened, so there is no trace for this activity. Is it traced or it is not traceable? Someone guessed your system password, logged in with your RDP for admin rights, so anything will be recorded. Yes, everything will be recorded. So that's why the logs reading is very important, right? So in today's session, we will talk about the event IDs, the common event IDs you have to look forward. So top 25 Windows event IDs for SOC Analyst. So number one event ID is 4624, which is used for successful logon. Okay, let me take you the comment. So Aniket is asking, is graduation necessary to get job as SOC Analyst? So Aniket, graduation is not particularly necessary, but if you are graduated and if you are applying for the job, so HR will always pick up the graduate person. So in as for market perspective, you should be graduated. But if you have the skills, you are doing some internships somewhere in some companies, then might be the graduation will not be as important. Okay, so the event ID 4624, which is used for successful logon. Like if someone logged in your system successfully, the username and the password will be correct, and the person logs in your system successfully, then this event ID will be created. Now you will have the thing, or you will have the question in mind. Suppose when I want to log in into my system, so there are certain types to log in into my system. Can you tell me what are those types are? Like suppose I want to log in into my system, and this event ID will be generated, which is 4624. That is okay, but how many types of login we have? As an example, I want to log in into system physically, so there are more ways to log in into your system, if you know any. Like I can log in into my system physically. I have to physically put the username and password into my system, and then I can log in successfully in my operating system. Then the event ID 4624 will be generated. But there are two more ways to log in into your system. Can you tell me what are those two ways? How many ways we have to log in into our system? Physically is one. Any particularly you know about any other? Tell me in the comments how many, or how many ways we have to log in into system. Physically is one, then other? कितने तरीके से हम एप्लीकेशन में लॉग इन कर सकते हैं? सपोज, क्योंकि सिर्फ इवेंट आईडी से ही काम नहीं चलेगा, आपको लॉगिन के पीछे का जो लॉगिन टाइप है वो भी समझना होगा, जो ये बताएगा कि लॉगिन कैसे हुआ। लाइक आपका अगर सिस्टम में फिजिकल लॉगिन हुआ है, इफ यू नेटवर्क से आपके सिस्टम में लॉगिन हुआ है, या फिर आरडीपी से आपके सिस्टम में लॉगिन हुआ है, सो देर आर सम सर्टेन वेज टू लॉग इन इनटू योर सिस्टम. Through physically is one, then using network, maybe some person using your network to access your system. Like file sharing, when you share a file, you have to put the credentials for the system you want to access those files. So in network file sharing system, you have to put the id password, so network se bhi access ho sakta hai. Then through rdp, using remote desktop protocol, this is another way to log in into your system. So there are certain types, but for a successful login, always 4624 will be created. But with the 4624 event IDs, there is a logon ID or logon type is attached, right? So for that, I'm going to show you a log first. See, this is a log in which I filtered out the 4624. So this is the 4624 event ID which is generated for a successful login. If you see here, the event ID is 4624, and the logs is security logs, And if you see here the all the other information, but if you see here, there is one more information given, which is logon type, which is 3 logon type. See here, logon type. So every event IDs contains a logon type. So by analyzing those logon type, you will get the idea if the system was accessed physically through network or through RDP. So we have to learn about those event IDs as well as those logon types or some RDPs, right? So that's why the Windows login information or Windows event ID information in depth will be important. So that's why I took this session. Okay, so what this represent for 624? This represent logs a successful login into your system. Why it is important? It is essential for identifying whether a legitimate user or unauthorized attackers has accessed a system. If some malicious attacker logged in into your system successfully, or if a genuine person logged in, so the ID will be created. How SOC analysts use it? So analysts basically track these events to verify if logins are coming from authorized users, and if the login time, locations, or methods align with typical user behavior. Because if any authorized user logs in, so the location will be important, the login time will be important, and the methods will be important. So there is a example use case. Suppose an alert triggers, you are monitoring or you are using any particular uh, alerting tool, suppose Splunk. So an alert triggers where a user logs in from an unusual location. You commonly see this, like suppose if you log in into your Facebook account through somewhere else, so you will receive a email like there is a unusual login activity detected. So similarly in Windows, when a suspicious login activity detected, the log was created and a alert triggered. So an alert triggers where a user logs in from unusual location, suppose from different country, so which may indicates a compromised account. That means your Windows system operating system was compromised because the login activity you monitored through logs, or you identified like the location is not particularly yours, it is a unusual location. What is the mitigation for this? So we can implement MFA, which is multi-factor authentication. We can use the VPN for remote accesses, or maybe we can implement our password policies. So we can use a strong password. And how you can detect it? Set alerts for logons from unusual IP addresses, geographic locations, or from accounts that rarely logged in remotely. So that might be the prompt for you to set in SIM tools or whatever alerting tools you will use, right? So we will definitely take this as an example in our next sessions. Then we have event ID 4625, which is generated when failed login attempt was created, right? So this login ID, this event ID, which is represent the failed login attempts. This is generated due to incorrect credentials. If anyone try to log in into your system with incorrect username or passwords, then for failed login attempts, this event ID will be created. And why it is important? Repetitive failed login. So maybe someone is doing the brute force, or maybe some credential stuffing attacks in which they want to guess the password of your system. So that's why the multiple failed login attempts was created. So that's why this event ID is important. And how analysts use it? Analysts basically monitored failed login attempts to identify abnormal login patterns, like if it is coming from the unfamiliar or blacklisted IP addresses. The use case for this, like multiple failed login attempts on high privilege account, maybe admin or root. If that's the scenario, this may be indicate like the attackers trying to brute force to guess the admin or want to take over the admin or root account. So what mitigation you can put it, you can set account lockout policies, which means if certain attempts was already happened, like 3 or 4 attempts was already happened with failed login attempts, so your account will be temporarily logged. So that is known as account lockout policies, right? So you can set account lockout policies after certain number of failed attempts and may be required to MFA, multi-factor authentication. And how you can detect it, so alert on multiple failed login attempts in short period, especially for privileged accounts like for admin or for root. Then we have event ID 4648. This is generated when login attempt using explicit credentials. So what explicit credential meaning? So what this event ID basically represent? So this event is logged when a process or service logs on using explicit credentials, such as credentials provided for network resources, some additional credentials you set for your operating system. If the login was happened for those credentials, then 4648 was generated. It is important because it can indicate lateral movement or escalation where credentials are explicitly passed for system access. So if you are familiar with the lateral movement, so I will basically give you a insight what actually lateral movement is. Lateral movement is a post exploitation kind of attack in which the attacker using a compromised machine to take over the entire network, or using a compromised machine, attacker can basically take over another operating system or another system that is present in the network. So that attack is known as lateral movement. In lateral movement we have SSL stripping attack, we have uh, proxy chains, right? We have port forwarding. These are the common attacks we have in lateral movement. So the use case for this is like an attacker compromised an account and use explicit credentials to move laterally within the network. So one account was compromised and then attacker used that account to take over another account in the network. So that's why this event ID is important. You can mitigate this for use least privilege access controls and restrict the explicit credentials. You can detect it by setting an alert for explicit credential users. Okay, now I'm taking your comment. I got one or two comments. So Aniket is asking, I completed diploma in information technology. Will you please tell me easiest way to get job? So Aniket, you can apply through LinkedIn portal. There are many companies who are basically posting the jobs regarding LinkedIn. So there is certain page which is VAPT jobs. If you search it on LinkedIn, you will find a page named VAPT job, in which you will have they basically posted multiple jobs there. So you can monitor the page, find the post and apply it. So Tony is asking like his resume was not shortlisted. So maybe Tony, you are not particularly using those keywords that is HR or the recruiter is looking for. So you can send me your resume on Telegram so I can review it. Like what's the problem in your resume? Okay, moving on. Then next event ID we have is 4672, which is used for special privilege assigned to new logo. Suppose if while in new login activity, if some any special privilege was assigned, then this event id will be generated. So what it represents, actually it is logged when a new login is assigned special privileges such as administrative right. It is important because it tracks when account gained privilege access to critical system, which could indicate misuse or privilege escalation. And how analysts basically using it to watch for new or unexpected special privilege assignments that could indicate lateral movement or escalation. You can the example which generally you will get the better idea about it. So a normal user account unexpectedly receives admin privileges, so which could be a sign of credential theft or malicious behavior. A normal user account receives admin privileges, so then this event id will be logged. You can mitigate it by restricting the privilege access, or you can detect this event id through or alert when special privileges are granted for non-administrative accounts. Then 4634, which is log off. This particular event ID will be generated when captured log off events. So if a user successfully logged out from a system, this event will be generated. And it is important because for sessions, if sessions are particularly closed, or we can monitor like when users unexpectedly remained logged in on. So you can read out the rest of the things like why analysts use it or how we can use it. So analysts basically monitor to this particular event to track if the account remain logged in no longer than expected. Like the logout time will be suppose 5 minutes, but the user is still logged in, so then we will use this event id. How you can mitigate it? You can set time based login log off policies, or particularly employee session timeout for inactivity. So inactivity timeout or maybe time based log off policies can be implemented to mitigate the risk of this event id, which is 4634. Then 4688, if any new process was created in your system. This is a very important event id for detecting the malware, detecting the ransomware or maybe trojan in your system. Because if any suspicious program was installed in your system, so a process was created, and if a process was created, this event id will be generated. So you can monitor this event id for analyzing if any new process was generated in your system. If the new process was generated in your system, then you can check out what type of process it is actually. So for analyzing the malware, suspicious malware behavior, suspicious trojan behavior, this event id is important. So it basically represents a new process that has been created on the system. It is important for the start of potentially malicious activities like malware or unauthorized scripts. So analysts basically using that event id for tracking the creation of processes, especially those originating from unknown or untrusted locations. So the example use case is, suppose a suspicious process is created by unauthorized users, which is commonly associated with malware like ransomware. So if an unauthorized user created a process, a suspicious process, so maybe it is an indication like in your system malware will be implemented or malware will be planted, right? So you can mitigate it to via EDR tools to block unauthorized processes or maintain a known whitelist. For that, it is you have to use EDR, endpoint detection and response. Then 4689. If a process was ended, then this event ID will be generated. So termination of the process, if any process was uh, terminated from your system, then this event ID will be generated. So it is also very important for analyzing the terminated processes, the particularly security critical processes, like if some process that is essential for your system but it is ended or terminated forcefully, then using this event ID we can analyze it. So the attackers basically, uh, the analyst use this event ID to track the terminated processes for identifying instance where important process was forcefully stopped or crashed by malicious actors. Then you can mitigate this, you can detect this. Again, this event ID, this event ID is generated for Windows filtering platform connection allowed. So suppose when a connection is allowed by the Windows filtering platform, such as through a firewall or network filter, then this event ID will be generated. So how it is important or why analyst is using it? So SOC analyst basically using it to verify if allowed traffic to critical systems, especially it is coming from unexpected or unauthorized sources. So basically, those what you will get the idea is, like, you have to read about each and every important event IDs in depth. For that, you need to understand like why this particular event ID was created in my system and why it is important and why it is related to some suspicious activity or maybe some genuine activity, and how those event IDs we can use it to analyze purpose, like as an analyst how you can use it, what particular attack you will detect it through those event IDs. So that's why this those event IDs are very useful or helpful for you. So I have created particularly everything for the like the top event IDs. Like if a user account was created, then 4720 will be generated. If a user account was deleted, then 464726 was generated, right? So I have particularly a PDF document which is generated, and you can check this out. Like there are top 25 event IDs, right? So you have to read that document and understand it fully. You have to read out everything that is documented, every common event IDs we have event ID 4732, which is if a member was added to local group. If a user account was changed, then 4738. If user account was logged out, then 4740. If a member was added, then 4756. If a TGT Kerber OS authentication ticket was requested for Windows Server basically, then 4768. If a service ticket was requested, then 4769. So every possible top 25 event IDs for you need to know about as an SOC analyst, you have to read that document. So you will get the idea why the event ID is important, what the meaning of this event ID, how we can use it in our SOC operations, the example use cases, how you can mitigate the risk of this, and how you can detect this event ID through, or how you can get alert. So what particular prompt you need to, or what you need to set for in the alerting tool like Splunk or QRadar for monitoring those event IDs. So I will attach this document in your uh, drive. So you have to check that out. Then, apart from learning about the event IDs, as I told you earlier, when I start the session, you have to understand the logon type as well. As I showed you, like there is a successful login activity which is 4624. So this is generated when the account was successfully logged in, which will we understand, like suppose if a successful login activity happened, then the 4624 event id will be generated, राइट। ये आपको पता चल गया कि 4624 जब जनरेट होता है तब एक सक्सेसफुल लॉगिन होता है। बट उसके साथ साथ आपको लॉगऑन टाइप भी देखना होता है। लॉगऑन टाइप, from analyzing the logon type, you will have that idea like how the account was logged in physically, through network, through rdp. So the logon type is also important, and for that you need to learn about those important logon type. The logon type 2, which is local interactive login, like physically login. Logon type 3, that means network login through smb, which is a protocol. Logon type 10, which is remote desktop login through rdp. Logon type 5, which is for service logon. And logon type 7, which is unlock workstation. So these are the common logon type which you will need to analyze apart from the event IDs. Suppose you are monitoring the logs and you find out a login activity, you find out a event ID 4624. So you have to check out, like you get the idea कि like someone logged in into your system, account was logged in, successfully logged in, but what the logon type? So you have to check the logon type also. So this is indicating logon type 3. That means the account was logged in through network. If the logon type was 10, that means the account was logged in through RDP. So that might be the suspicious activity, because any maybe some attacker uh, try to log in into your system through RDP. So then only if if they are able to log in into your system successfully, then the ID 4624 is created, but the logon type will be 10. And if you log in into your system through physically or interactive login, local interactive login basically, then the event ID will be same, which is 4624, but the logon type will be 2. So when you are monitoring or when you are analyzing a event IDs, then it is important also to check out the logon type. So if you check out those two things simultaneously, you will get the idea like how the login was happened, and then you will properly create a alert or ticket, or create a ticket or raise a ticket basically. Understood? Then some RDP related event IDs. Basically, RDPs are quite suspicious, because if someone is logging into your account through RDP, maybe they got the credentials. So some event IDs specifically for RDPs, which is 1149. So the RDP authentication succeed. So that is the event ID. Then 4624 with logon type 10. If you know it already, like the 4624 is for successful login, but the login type with 10, that indicates the remote login. Then 21 22 23, which is rdp session life cycle, and 1024, which is rdp session state changed. So that will be the important things you have for Windows events. You have to check out, or you have to learn the important event IDs. You have to check out the important logon types, and you have to check out the important RDP logon, RDP event IDs. If you read everything about event IDs, the why the event ID is generated, what it means actually. So you will get much more help in your SOC operations, because when you do it, you will have to actually perform or set some alert on those event IDs. Basically, your job is to find out those event IDs, then you have to check out what actually this event is representing. Okay, so there are some certain tips for SOC analyst regarding the Windows events. So always monitor the 4625, maybe multiple failed logins, the RDP access log, like you know it already, the admin privilege assignments like 4672. So there are certain event IDs which will be important, very important. So you have to monitor those event IDs when you are performing the SOC, and we can correlate with those event IDs with firewall or network logs, and then we can set alert on anomalies, right? So in today's session, you will get the idea about the important event IDs, the logon type, or the RDPs. And now you can ask me the questions, but let me ask you some quiz or some question basically first. So tell me in the comments, what does event ID 4625 indicates? What you understand the event ID 4625? If you are watching this stream, you will get the idea about the event IDs. So the 4625, what this, when this event ID will be generated? 4625. Or if you have any doubt, so you can comment basically. If you have any doubt, you can comment it. The next session will be on about Linux logs. Today we'll talk about the important Windows logs. The next session will be dedicated to Linux logs. So I got a answer by Hans. So yes, it is right. So 4625 generated for failed logins. So one more question we have, like, can we see these event IDs? Yes, we will see it when we are setting up the monitoring tool. When we are setting up the Splunk, then you will see the event IDs or those event IDs. So yes, Teja is also right for failed logins. Okay, so the next session will be based on Linux logs, and then we will install our monitoring tools, because right now we are here. So this will be your learning journey. So right now we are here actually, Windows logs deep dive. Then we will talk about the Linux logs, and then we will have to install the sim tools, and then the use cases, or how you can install the sim tools. Okay, so the practical sessions are approaching, so make sure you will clear the or read every document I shared through you, so you will get the idea about it. Read as much as you can about the Windows logs as well as the Linux log, which is uh, I will cover in next session. Try to learn the Windows or network commands, Linux commands, network devices, protocols, ports, everything we covered in our previous session, because now you will need all of them in your SOC journey, in your practical scenarios. Okay, so the document for this will be uploaded soon in your drive. The drive link you have is already in the video description. Do check out. Make sure to subscribe it if you haven't already, and do like the video. You can also share the session clips on your LinkedIn, so the more people will enjoy it, or more it will reach out to multiple people. That will be my goal actually. So the session link, tracker link will be available. You can monitor your session, you can track your sessions. The drive link, the Telegram group, you can join it for group discussion or doubt discussion. The You can join out the WhatsApp community for new batches, which is actually paid batches. And then you can follow me on LinkedIn, Insta, Medium, whatever social you will use it. And check out the other videos on the channel. So yeah, any more questions you have, so so you can drop in the comments. Make sure to subscribe it before leaving the channel if you enjoying this stream. So make sure to subscribe it, share with your network, do share with your colleagues, your classmates, if you are particularly opting for cybersecurity diploma or graduation. So you have the college groups created, so make sure you will share the session links in your groups. Okay. So thank you everyone for joining this stream. Let's connect tomorrow again for Linux logs, and you will get the idea about what Linux logs are, what are the important Linux logs we have to look for. Thank you everyone again for joining this. Do check out the previous videos. Do not forget to like and subscribe the channel. And the one question I got is like, when is the next session? Tomorrow. Tomorrow at 8:30 is the time actually. So the next session will be tomorrow. Okay. So that document will be uploaded soon. So you will have to read it for getting the insights for the event IDs. Okay. So do not forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Thank you everyone for joining the session. See you tomorrow. Bye bye. Good night.